Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is a beautiful Thursday morning. Today is June 19th, 2025. Of course, today is a national federal holiday. Appreciate you taking time to visit with us this morning. Today, we are going to get together and help solve problems. We're going to talk about the four different problems that you and I can help others solve and explain, of course, the grant, the nonprofit, how everything works. So my screen should be shared. We're on the 509 Pacific website. 509 Pacific is actually we have multiple, but one of our 501c3 nonprofits. This is the nonprofit that's administering the grant, providing a number of free services. And so we're going to make sure that everyone's familiar with those resources, and we'll be referring to the 509 Pacific website as well as a couple others as we go along today. So as I mentioned, today is Thursday, June 19th. We just heard the song of the day. Thank you, Drake, for nominating it. And we're going to go through the Express Shelf Corp model overview. So agenda item number one, we're going to discuss the what, why, how, answer any questions, and we'll move on through the four items. So first of all, we're going to talk about how you and I can help people, small business owners, entrepreneurs, describe them as you want, how they can get a free shelf corporation. It's crazy simple. They're going to come to 509pacific.org. Right here on our homepage, there's information. There's a training video. If they click this, it'll pop up. And this is the training video we did earlier this week. But the bottom line is they can click right here. I'll even click it for you. And they can get themselves a free shelf corporation crazy simply. If you are a reseller of ours, you will have the same material. You'll have your own link. We're providing landing pages, or you can use your own. But the bottom line is to be able to get a free shelf corporation because of the grant has never been simpler. With that being said, we'd have to ask, well, why would someone want a free shelf corporation, right? Especially if you're like Drake, and Drake just says, hey, I just want money, right? I don't see the benefit of a shelf corp. I don't see the benefit of a shelf corp. I just want money. Well, you got to decide, do you want business money, in other words, business funding, or personal funding? If all you want to go get are personal credit cards, personal loans, then you don't need a fundable business. But if you want business funding, you must have a fundable business. And that's the number one barrier that most people face. Every day I have discussions, and I don't want to say that they're heated, but they're passionate, where people just come to us and they just say, no, I just want money. Get me some money. I just want money. You don't know, I need money. And it's like, well, do you have a fundable business? Oh, I don't need that. I just want money. Well, that's nonsense, right? So a big part of what you and I do is build financial literacy, because people think, oh, I can just squat down and squeeze out money out of my orifice. No, you can't. If we want business funding, we need to have a fundable business, and we have to qualify. A lot of people don't have that, and frankly, a lot of people don't even know that. So that's the first thing that you and I do, is we can help them have a fundable business by them using the grant to get a free shelf corporation. And again, we've had prior training, so I don't want to be redundant on that. But if you don't understand all of that, come over to 509 Pacific. You can watch the training video, which I just briefly showed you here. You can look at the packet, which I briefly showed you here. So it's very transparent. This training video that I made reference here has received accolades. It's a one page that just puts everything out there. So there's no surprises, no drama. Here's the grant. Here's what's included. Here's phase one, phase two, so forth. So that is our number one objective, is to help people have a fundable business. Even though I know usually that's not what they're asking for, right? You probably don't have your phone ringing and where they're asking, hey, can I get a shelf corp? Now, some people are going out and selling shelf corps explicitly because there are some people that realize the value of those. So we have a reseller that developed his own website shown here, shelf-corps.com. And he put this together just to kind of have a retail approach. So he does paid marketing. He'll spend about $300 to $500 a day, which you don't have to, but that's his allocation. And he brings in over $250,000 a month selling shelf corps. So he has kind of a retail approach. You click the button and you can literally sign up for a shelf corp right on his page. So going back, first agenda item, we want everyone to know how to get a free shelf corporation. If you're working with a reseller, they can get you set up. You can come to if not, you can come to our website, 509 Pacific. We can get you set up right here. Or you may find that some of our resellers have their own kind of retail stores online. Okay, so any questions that anyone has on how to get a free shelf corporation or why that's important, right? Because we said if you want business funding, you need to have a fundable business. I was working late last night just because we have so much client volume, which is a blessing. And we have a client that called in and he's just passionate. He wants money. He just wants money, but he doesn't have a fundable business. So I do understand that some people just won't be able to assimilate that very basic concept. But if they're really serious about getting funding for a business, they need a fundable business. Most people don't have it. You and I can provide it through a free shelf corp. All right, I think we're good there. So let's move on to agenda item number 2. Well, we already said most people really want money. They don't really care about a shelf corp. The shelf corp is a means to the end of qualifying. So also what we want to cover today is how you and I can help anyone, whether they have a business or they don't have a business, whether they have a business idea or not yet, they're not sure, how we can help anyone get at least 100,000 to start or grow a business. No, it's not too good to be true. No, it's not a scam. No, it's not Ponzi scheme. It's simply using a shelf corp, a fundable shelf corp, and then building the loan package out so they qualify, right? I think when we talk about home mortgages, it makes sense. It's like, take Laming, who's on the line. I think Laming, I think you're from New York, if I recall. Housing's very expensive in New York City, but regardless, if Lamey wants to go buy a new house for his family, is it some sort of freaking mystery of how he would get a mortgage? No, he needs to work with an advisor, often a mortgage loan officer, figure out the right type of mortgage based upon his circumstances, and then he needs to meet the underwriting criteria. Same thing if Lamey wanted to get funding to start or grow a business. He needs to work with a technician. That's what we are, you and I, technical advisors. We help clients find the right type of business funding based upon their mitigating circumstances. And then legally and ethically, we help them meet the underwriting criteria. It's not a mystery. It's a great analogy to getting mortgages. So if a client does have a fundable shelf corp, then, and we call that phase 1, if you remember on the training, it goes into phase 1 and we can scoot it on down and then towards the bottom.
Mr. Wonderful here.
I didn't want Mr. Wonderful, but we'll skip that. We've got ads there. But the bottom line is the video here goes through phases 1 and 2. And as Mr. Wonderful would say, phase 2 is the actual funding process. We often get people say, well, can I skip number 1 and just go get funding? Well, sure, if you have a fundable business, but you have to have a fundable business if you want business funding. Any questions on how you can help others get a free shelf corp or how they can get a minimum of 100,000? All right, so I see a question from Varney, and so Varney's asking, well, what if they want more than 100,000? Well, the concept follows through. It's just like with the mortgage. Let's go back to Laney. So if Laney wants a $500,000 house, or if he wants $1 million house, it's not black and white difference. It's essentially he needs to be able to qualify for that larger amount of mortgage. Same thing with getting business funding. We build the shelf corp out ready to go for 100,000. But as Barney's asking, if they want more than 100,000, that's fine. Then what we do is we modify that shelf corp to be able to qualify for the additional amount legally and ethically. All right, so the third item on today's agenda is how to get a free credit sweep. So, what is a credit sweep, and then why would someone want it? Well, sometimes people haven't managed their credit, personal credit, very well. Business credit's taken care of, right? We automatically add trade lines onto their shelf corp, so we're not worried about business credit worthiness. That'll always be taken care of. But on the personal side, if they've not managed their personal credit well, and everyone has a reason and an excuse, we don't care about that. But if they have bad credit, right? That bad credit, is that a problem of getting funding? Well, it depends. Some sources of capital care about the credit worthiness of the owner, some don't. But why would anyone want to have bad credit? I mean, I look at you all, we have 534 of you on today, and I suspect all of you probably have an average of a 720 credit score, because bad credit is optional. Why would you want bad credit? Why would someone choose to have bad credit? You either pay your bills as agreed so it looks great, or we can legally and ethically, frankly, manipulate the file to make it look great. So having bad credit is foolish, right? And with the expanded grant, we help them with that for free. It's now built in. So if we go over to so here on 509 Pacific, if we click here, it's the grant packet. That's what this is. We scroll down and it talks about the, no, it's not the most updated one, so I apologize, but the most updated one has the free credit sweep referenced, and you all should have a marketing packet that has an editable version of the client agreement, which is here. You should have an editable version of the comparison sheet that has added the credit sweep onto it. And all of you should have a flyer that's editable that has the credit sweep added to it. So the bottom line is, it doesn't make sense to have bad credit. And if you run into anyone that does have bad credit, that could be a reason alone that they would want to get a free shelf corp, because the free shelf corp comes with the credit sweep. Any questions on number 3? Donald has questions, so I'm going to go back to it. So Donald typed the question after I had moved on, so we'll go back. So he's asking about, are there any upfront costs for the funding? And the answer is no. And if you go through this training here, you'll get a deeper understanding. But I'll give you a Cliff Notes answer, Donald. But again, if you go to 509pacific.org and watch this complete training, you'll understand very much more detail. But the bottom line is, we call the funding phase 2. There's no out-of-pocket cost. There's no upfront cost. The client, the participant, does pay a performance fee, and it's 10% of the capital raised. Half of that goes to the reseller, and then half of that goes to the override of whomever brought the reseller in. No, we're not network marketing. No, we're not MLM, but we pay out 100% of that performance fee. Half to the reseller, half to their, we'll call them upline, just for simplicity. So yes, there is a cost for the capital raise. Yes, but it's not out of pocket. It's coming out of the funding. There's also a refundable deposit, Donald, that we talk about in the training here. But to give you a transparent response, there's a refundable deposit, but it doesn't come out of pocket either. It comes out of the funding. And then as long as the client works with us to raise at least 100,000, which we promise to do on our side, they're promising on their side, then they get that refundable deposit back. But it's not paid out of pocket. It's paid out of their first tranche, first round of funding. Think back when you were in college, Donald, and you moved away from home maybe, and you had to get an apartment if you didn't live in a dorm. Well, with the apartment, you had to put a deposit down. Well, just this morning I had to put a deposit. So I think you all know, well, you all should know, we're building a new office building in front of our existing structure. So literally just this morning, I called the electric company. They open at 6:30 local time, which is pretty amazing. So I called the electric company and said, "Hey, I need to get an electric service hooked up for our new office building because it passed inspection." And so I had to pay a deposit because it's a new structure. It's technically a new account on our same property. So deposits, commonplace, refundable. The refundable deposit from this, which gets to Donald's question, comes back once the client raises at least 100,000. We promised to help them get at least 100,000. They promised to work with us. Okay, so that was number two. We were on credit sweep. Okay, Drake did have a question, so let's go back. So when we go into funding, which we call phase two, so phase one is we need to have a fundable business. Most people don't have that, so they're normally going to get a free shelf corp from one of our resellers. So that's phase one. And again, that's broken down more in this training here. Phase two is going into funding. No upfront cost, 10% performance fee that's paid out to the field. And then also there's the refundable deposit, not paid out of pocket, paid out of financing. Drake's question's a good one is he's kind of asking about the financing. So for the first tranche of financing, the first round that comes through phase two, we normally want within 10 days, 7 to 10 days of a client coming aboard, we want to get them initial funding offers right away, even before we have all the tweaks made to the shelf corp to go for the larger amount. Now, that first tranche, it might be 100,000 or more, but frankly, a lot of times it's not. It's a first tranche. It's an initial amount of working capital, seed capital, so the client sees some immediate benefits. And then also, again, it covers the refundable deposit, so they don't have to pay it out of pocket, so we can perform the services. With that being said, the funding that they receive through the process is going to be based upon their mitigating circumstances. So, what does that mean? That's kind of fancy words. Well, what do they want? Do they want loans? Do they want lines of credit? Do they want equipment financing? Do they want real estate financing? Do they want financing to acquire an existing business? All of those are examples of different uses of funds. That's what it's called, uses of funds, like their shopping list. So we work with them to build that out. The first tranche, the first round, is a quick turnaround, so they get funding right away. So they have some quick working capital. It's usually a low doc type financing, where, of course, when we go for much larger loans, there's going to be more documentation needed, but that's okay because we provide the documentation with the shelf corp, and then we help them edit it specific to their mitigating circumstances. So back to Drake's question. So that first tranche can look like a lot of different models. So they fill out a simple app, no hard inquiries. We have about 40 different lenders that are willing to finance participants that are going through the program for the first tranche. But you're right, Drake. Each person could very much end up with different financing offers and even different lenders. It depends on their mitigating circumstances. So that's why when we talk about phase one, our resellers are out educating and enrolling clients in the shelf corp, and they're paid to do that, of course. We handle phase two because there's just more volatility. You all are great, but a lot of you don't have the education, the experience, the background to be able to properly advise clients on phase two, but you're all more than competent and capable of phase one. So you handle phase one, we'll take care of phase two, but you still get paid off of it as passive income. All right, so we were down on credit sweep before we bounced back because of a couple of good questions. So the credit sweep is now included. It's legal, it's ethical, and it's really designed to do two things: help clients remove derogatories, applicable derogatories, to help boost their scores. And then secondly, we can help them add trade lines. Here we're talking about personal credit, personal credit, personal credit. The business credit is already taken care of, right? So through phases one and two, we're taking care of the business trade lines. The shelf corps they get are clean. So there's not a cleanup effort. There's not bad credit that needs to come off the shelf corp. But the business owner may have some credit issues, and that's what we're talking about. Let's see. Todd Jeter asks, is phase one based on personal credit? Well, no, I don't think you understand. So phase one is getting them a shelf corp. It has nothing to do with credit. It's providing them a shelf corp, and then phase two is using that shelf corp for funding. So I think you might have been confused there, Todd, but that's okay. If you have a different question, follow up. But yeah, phase one's not doesn't have anything to do with personal credit or not personal credit. It's getting them a shelf corp, and then phase two is funding. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to cover, and we'll open it up for other questions that you all have. Any business model, for profit or nonprofit, has to have some sort of business development element, right? Whether it's the American Red Cross or it's Tesla or anywhere in between. So in our model, we want to empower individuals to help others improve their financial literacy, increase access to capital, and of course, have access to better credit. So with that, we have what we call the grant coordinator. So we can scroll down a bit here on 509 Pacific. And so we invite everyone to be a grant coordinator. Doesn't cost anything, no contract to sign, no strings attached. It's free and it's easy, but it's designed to allow these individuals to earn an adult income. And we'll come back to the relevance of that in a moment. But if anyone's interested, you go to 509pacific.org. So we're just scrolling down a little bit. We ask you to watch two videos, the money repair training video and the Express Shelf Corp overview. And quite frankly, this video is the same as this video. So this and this is the same. It's just we put it twice because it's under two different sections. So essentially, you just fill out this form here, and we will get you set up at no cost as a grant coordinator. You'll be open same day and ready for what we call daily deposits. So essentially, you're able to go out and educate and enroll people, enroll them in the free Shelf Corp program. As a grant coordinator, you can never say that it doesn't pay fairly, because literally you decide what you want to make off of each enrollment. You choose. Most of you are doing 500 per enrollment on the front end, and of course you make the 5 points, which is set off of the phase two. All right, so again, we wanted to make sure we know how to get a free Shelf Corp. We can go to 509pacific.org. We can review the information because we want to be educated about how it works. Ideally, watch the video. It's not required, but then we can click here and enroll, and it looks just like this. And you can enroll, or you can go through one of our resellers. So that was number one. Number two is, do we know how to get at least $100,000 to start or grow a business? Well, we need to have a fundable business. If we don't have that, then we normally would start with a Shelf Corp, but then we automatically, subject to the client wanting to, go into phase two, help them raise capital now that they have a fundable business. How do we get the free credit sweep? It comes for free for anyone that's doing phases 1 and 2. So that's super simple. And then if someone wants to start earning an adult income, Debbie mentioned we didn't define that. So that's a good point. So let's go back to that. So a lot of people don't make much money. And so, how do people make money? Well, you either work for someone else or you're an entrepreneur. That's a little bit of a simplicity, but we'll put it in two categories. So you either work for yourself or you work for someone else. If you work for someone else, they kind of determine what you get paid in general. So you'd have to talk to them. But that's not our target audience. Our target audience are individuals that are entrepreneurs. Now, maybe they have a job and they do this on the side. That's fine. But as entrepreneurs, we are paid based upon solving people's problems. And the bigger the problem we solve, the more money we can make. So in our world, we want every grant coordinator to generate at least $100,000 a month. Now, some people that have not made much money, they think, oh, that's crazy. That's like what kings make of foreign lands. Well, no, there's a lot of people that make 1.2 million a year. That's the model. We didn't need a model to help people struggle. People already could struggle. But as a grant coordinator, doesn't cost anything, no contract to sign. Our average grant coordinator enrolls a client a day, 20 a month. They're making whatever they want on the front end. They're making 5% on the back end. And we've done some different trainings. You can go see prior trainings where we map it all out, but it should be right about 100,000 a month. So does it get rich quick? No. Is it something to get all excited about? Probably not, but it's a good, honest adult income, especially looking at it as a side income, a side gig. So that is that. So let's go back and get to your questions. All right, Mike C from the USA says, does phase two involve personal credit? That's a great point. So it goes back to what I said. When we're working with a client on their capital raise, so first I have to have a fundable business. So that's normally Mike C from the USA, what you're doing. You're getting them a fundable business. That's your role as a reseller / grant coordinator. Then it takes us about 7 days to fulfill that order. So then we're working with them on our side to really understand, okay, do you want 100,000 or do you really want more? What are you going to use it for? So we need to fine tune the loan package based upon their specific wants and needs and circumstances. Mike's question wasn't Mike C from the USA. That wasn't his question. Mike C from the USA wanted to know, is personal credit involved? Are there personal guarantees? And the answer is, it depends, right? We have some clients that say, I do not want to do a PG. Well, that's their choice. Then we need to look at funding options that don't have a PG. But in general, here's my experience, Mike C from the USA. Most people that are adverse to doing a PG, it's because they have shitty credit. But we're addressing that root problem. We don't want people to have shitty credit. We want them to look credible on paper. Therefore, the PG is not a barrier. But different sources of funding have different underwriting. Some have a PG, some don't. We work with the client to build out what they want. Okay, thank you, Mike C from the USA. Todd came back and asked, is phase two based on personal credit? I guess that's the same thing we said. It's up to the client. It could or it could not, depend upon what the client wants. We work with them to build a funding plan that's specific to their wants, needs, and circumstances. All right, Kenny asked about the grant, kind of breaking it down more, and that's fine. So normally shelf corps were 10,000, and those of you that have been around, that's a fair price because it includes a lot. I'm not here to describe all it includes. If you don't know what all the shelf includes, again, come to 509 Pacific, and you can learn what it includes by watching this video, which is here, and or coming here and viewing the packet. But regardless, there's a bunch of value. You can see what's included here. So the bottom line is the shelf corp is 10,000. The grant pays 100% of that. So let's see what his question was. So that's what the grant's covering. The grant's providing a free shelf corp with these deliverables and now including the free credit sweep. All right. Hopefully that answered your question, Kenny. If not, follow up. Debbie's got a follow up here, and Debbie's awesome. I had a chance to speak with her and her husband yesterday. She is a client going through the program. Okay, so she's asking more about the financing. So, and we'll even add that. So let's break this down. So when we're in financing, and this is frankly phase one, and then phase two. This isn't phase three. These are just additional items. So we'll just make it a dash so it doesn't seem like it's in order of anything. Okay, so when we get to phase two, here's what's going to happen. So once they have their shelf corp, takes about 7 days to fulfill that. We're going to send them the deliverables. So we've done everything that's promised for phase one. So we can all check the box and we've fulfilled phase one. They have what they expected, what we promised. Now we're into phase two for funding. So what does that look like? So they're going to client, well, we actually should call them grant participant will receive an email with phase one deliverables and a link to apply for funding. So we're going to move into funding if they want right away, within 7 to 10 days from the time that they enroll with the reseller or with us to get the shelf core. So there's going to be no hard inquiries. They fill out an app, and then the system matches to what they qualify for at that moment in time. Now, just don't confuse. That moment in time is different than after we've worked with them on phase two to fine tune everything. So that's why we call it the first tranche. So initially, client will get offers, and we'll call that first tranche, first round, if you prefer. And so that's based upon where they are then, not the ultimate capital raise. What they get varies based upon their mitigating circumstances. We've seen people get hundreds of thousands of offers in first tranche. Sometimes they don't get much. Everyone will get at least one offer. We want to get them at least one offer because we want to cover that refundable deposit for us to build out the loan package in phase two. It's that refundable deposit. We don't want them to pay out of pocket. So everyone will get at least one offer. And so I see that, I think it was Linza was asking, well, shouldn't we be doing the credit sweep even earlier? Well, the credit sweep can take, by law, the bureaus have to make the changes in 4 days, remove the derogatories, but in many cases, it could take, let's say, 30 days. So, depending upon the amount of work we need to do to the loan package, that can be done concurrently with the credit sweep. So, yeah, we might be 30 days. Now, we're not 30 days out of getting the first tranche. We can do the first tranche right away. But then we move to the full business loan financing, 100K plus. So these questions are great. Debbie's question, especially, it's important to understand that all the funding doesn't, and let me make a space here so that makes easier to follow. When it comes to funding, there's going to be a first tranche right away, and then we get all the documentation in order. And if we need to do the credit cleanup, then we can go for the larger amount. So as far as what people get for the first tranche, it's going to be based upon their credibility factors. Everyone will get at least one offer, and we have that 0% offer for folks that don't get any other cash offers. All right, Tasha's asking about the opportunity fund, and then we'll wrap it up. So that was down here. So the opportunity fund, and we can go back over here. So the opportunity fund is accessed right here, and it's available to clients or non-clients. You don't have to be a client to access the opportunity fund. The opportunity fund is earned income, right? Because entrepreneurs don't want free, right? These are people that don't want handouts. They don't want a welfare program. They want the ability to earn income, money that they don't have to pay back. It's not debt. So the grant coordinator is also called the reseller program. That's also called the opportunity fund. And it's great. It's designed to put daily deposits into the person's bank account. It's designed to put 100,000 per month in. Why is this 100,000 of earned income so important? That's going to position the business to have maximum borrowing capacity. So hopefully that makes sense, Tasha. And then last question, and we'll wrap it up. So Kenny's asking about the collateral. So that's correct, Kenny. So the collateral is included, which it says here on the flyer. So again, if we go to 509 Pacific, we can learn more about it by watching the video or by getting the packet. The packet is here. Yes, the collateral is included. It states on the flyer. Yes, the collateral is included. It states it here on the comparison sheet. And then, of course, the agreement is a big part of the agreement is, in fact, yes, we're providing you collateral. Last question Kenny asked, is there paperwork for the grant? Yes, sir. So it is right here. It's this packet. So they're going to go to 509pacific.org or go to one of our resellers. The resellers has the paperwork as well. And what I'm going through is, in fact, the grant packet. This is, well, it even says it, right? Grant packet right here in 509 Pacific, or then go to the reseller. All of our reseller/grant coordinators also have the packet so they can help people. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful. Our resources stay the same. We've got our tech support line, email, schedule a call. You can become a grant coordinator or participate here on 509 Pacific, of course. That's where we're at. Past trainings are on YouTube. And then with that being said, thanks everyone, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. If we didn't get to your question, send us a text, 903-347-8042, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye.